Alright everyone, there's no YouTube video without a result. I just got off the phone with a new client that I ended up closing for $1,850 with a 20% commission on everything that's over break-even ROAS. I'll actually show you the dashboard. You see that it's in my currency, but this is $1,850. I'll probably pull up some currency converter on screen so you can see how much it is in US dollars. I'm also going to go ahead and refresh just so you see that it's possible. That's a client that I just closed, and in this video I'm about to show you how you can do the exact same. So let's get into the video. All right, let me teach you exactly how to start a social media marketing agency that's doing over $25,000 in profit every single month in just 60 days. I've seen a lot of YouTubers teach you how to make 10K the first month with a social media marketing agency, and while that is absolutely realistic, I also think that the first 15 to 20 days could be the learning curve where you try out new things, you figure out your strategy, and then after that you've developed your own strategy and you can really go ham to try to get clients. So in this video, we're taking the longer path and figuring out how you can get started and make $20,000 a month after running your agency for only 60 days. This video is likely going to be one of the most transparent and valuable videos on how to launch and scale a marketing agency, but it's going to require some hustle. And I know that some people most likely clicked off when I said that it's going to require some hustle, but nothing worthwhile is going to come without any sort of hustle. But the good news is you can hire a hustle. So if you have some budget, you will be able to outsource the hustle. But enough talking. Let me teach you how to start a $25,000 a month marketing agency in just 60 days. The first step is obviously to get clients. And I'm not going to sit there and waste your time and talk about stuff that's completely irrelevant. I know you're here only because you want to learn how to create a marketing agency. And I know you just want the step by step because most people nowadays don't really have the best attention span. And you want to know the exact strategy on how to launch and scale a marketing agency in just like 8 minutes. So I'm going to be delivering the video as valuable as possible and as fast as possible. Let's talk about outreach. The first thing I want to talk about when it comes to outreach is your personality. I'm going to teach you my strategy on landing clients, talking to them, and also how I make clients money and how I make them stay. But before that, I need you to realize that my strategy might not be your strategy, but it's going to be a bunch of the same variables. It's going to apply to you as well. Me, for example, I'm not a cold caller. I wouldn't ever pick up the phone and start cold calling businesses. And in my opinion, it doesn't work that well. But I also know a friend of mine who's an expert at cold calling, so I will say that there's not really any best outreach methods. However, there are methods that's better than others. But for you, maybe cold calling is going to be the right approach, but it was never for me. But because this video is me teaching you how I would make my first $25,000 a month in just 60 days with an agency, I'm going to teach you the strategy I would use. There's two strategies, and while I'm talking about them, I'm also going to pop them up on screen. The first strategy is doing cold emails, and the second strategy is very similar. It's just kind of like on a different platform, and there's just a couple of different things with it. But cold emails is honestly, in my opinion, one of the most effective ways to get clients, but let's check it out on my screen. So as you know, I really like to target e-commerce clients or info product clients, and the best place to find them are on Facebook. So what I could do is I could find a business that's running Facebook ads right now and tell them that I could probably improve their results and try to get them on a quick call. So what I will do is I will find a client on the Facebook feed as you see on the screen, and then I will see the engagement. If it has, a couple of comments, maybe 50, 60 comments, or if it has some likes, I'll probably message it regardless. But if it has some engagement, I know that they're most likely spending money on it because people wouldn't really spend money where there's no engagement or any return. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to message the page. I'm not going to cold email them or anything like that. I'm just going to message the page and ask them who's in charge of their marketing, for example. You can always switch it up. You could do your different style. And if they answer and they're like actually interested in me, I'll obviously talk with them a little bit, ask a couple of questions. You just go with your own style here. You just want to know more about their business and figure out where they're leaving money on the table so you can tell them that if they just did this one change, they would make more money every single month. And this is the powerful part of the strategy. Once I have qualified someone and they're actually a little bit interested in speaking with me, they might not be interested in my offer afterwards. Obviously, it's still cold outreach. They don't know me by any means, but if I'm talking to them and they sound polite and nice and they're actually a tiny bit interested in me, I will go ahead and send them a loom. I don't really think that looms are too good for cold outreach. I think you should first qualify the client, and if they're somewhat interested, it's a very good option to send out a loom. But one mistake that I made my first probably like 2 to 3 months running an agency was that I was spending hours a day sending out looms to people that had no clue who I was, and I have never given them an introduction about me or my business beforehand. So looms definitely work best once it's getting a little bit more warm and you're actually getting to know the person or the business. So once you know that, definitely go ahead and send a personalized loom. You want to make sure that you do your research before you film a loom. I'm assuming you know what loom is in this video, but I'm going to explain that in a second as well. You really have to do your research before making a loom so that you can tell them on the loom where they need to improve and where they're leaving money. So what I would do on the Loom is I would go over the website really quick, talk about how it's good or how it could be easier for the customer to actually get the offer, or tell them a marketing angle that I really think would be beneficial for the business. And then in the end of the Loom, I'm going to show a result of my client when they started working with me, and then show the explosive effect of the client joining my agency, how he went from, for example, making $10,000 a day to $70,000 a day after working with me. But I'm not really going to plug myself or my agency. I'm just going to quickly mention that my client did this just after making like 2 or 3 changes to their business. It honestly almost seems like I'm making a Loom right now while telling you this, but that's exactly how I do it. It's really simple. Loom is basically just a video editing extension. Just search up Loom, or actually I can just put Loom in the description and you can just download the extension from the video description. But don't do it now. You're going to hear me out. I promise you that I'm going to be a breath of fresh air in the SMMA space on YouTube. I'm going to be as transparent as possible, document my whole journey, not hold anything back from you, and I'm most certainly not here to sell you anything. I'm going to create a movement of agency owners in my next video that generally wants to change their life and their business for completely free. Just know that I'm not here to sell you anything. And I also want to say thank you guys so much for the support on the last video. It was absolutely incredible to watch. The second thing I want to teach anyone who's starting an agency is that it's not that literal. You have to realize this. It's not that literal. So if I teach you how to structure a Loom, you don't have to do word by word of what I'm doing. You don't have to have a script or anything like that. Obviously, you have like kind of your own idea of what you want to say, but don't take this too literal. That's how you can mess everything up. But just because I'm saying cold emails work really well for me doesn't mean you should do it the exact way I'm doing. The best way to do this is by getting inspiration from, for example, me, and then adding your personality into it. So I really believe in having a proven to work strategy with your own personality. That's exactly how you're going to make money online right now. But let's talk about cold emailing. I know I said that there's no best way of doing outreach, but in my personal experience, from my personality, this is the best way of doing outreach. That doesn't mean it will be for you, but it's definitely a really good way of doing it. I'm going to pop up a screenshot on screen on one of my cold emails. What I do is I gather around 500 to 600 emails every single day. I have a team that does it for me who's working for a certain price per email. So the more emails they gather, the more money they will make. And cold email is really bad unless you have a ton of emails. So when I'm sending out 500 to 600 to 800 emails every single day, cold emails is incredibly effective. But if you're doing it yourself and you're only sending out 30 emails a day, I'm not sure if it would be that effective. So if you're doing everything yourself, definitely go by Facebook, browse the Facebook feed, and message pages that advertising. But what I do is I have a spreadsheet. I'm not going to put it on screen because there's private emails and I don't think it's fair to show other companies' emails on a YouTube video. But the first thing I do is I gather a bunch of emails on a spreadsheet, on an Excel document. Then what I do after that, let's say I have 500 emails, is I go to MailChimp. And on MailChimp, I'm sending out a personalized email where I'm changing the name of the company, and then I'll send out 600 emails in just 1 minute. So I'm sending out the bulk of emails, and in the email, I have the logo of my company at the bottom, and it's structured so that it actually looks good. And I also want to say I'm using a business email. So my email is henrik@mycompanyname.com. It's not just a Gmail, and that is incredibly important. If you don't have that, nobody's going to take you serious. So just make sure that you actually get a business email before you start doing it. And in the email, I have a PDF file. So I have a document with a couple of words about my business. I also have 2 photos in it, which results of the ads manager and a Shopify store. And then it's like a brief overview where I say like, hey, I'm Henrik, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But I'm basically sending them a text document with 2 photos, which are my results. And then obviously most people are not going to reply. But if I send out 500 emails and I just get 10 people that's interested, that's 10 looms that I can now send out to a warm audience, someone that's actually qualified. And off of those 10 looms, I'm probably going to land like 2 to 4 to maybe on a good day, even 5 meetings. So my whole strategy is sending out emails. And if someone replies, I'm going to make a personalized loom for their business and send it back to them. And after that, it should be relatively simple to land a meeting. This is the only outreach strategy you will need to know. And as I said, I do this for Facebook, Instagram, cold emails, whatever. I first qualify the client and actually get their attention. And once I have it, I'm going to send out a loom. And you don't have to send out a loom. You can also text. I just find looms to be really personal and that they're just really effective. But I'm not saying you have to do looms. It's just my style. In the loom, or when you're talking to a client, you just want to pinch them on a meeting. I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about this, but I just wanted to say that pinch them on a meeting. Do not try to pinch them on your service. You're basically just trying to set up a meeting with the client, and on that meeting, you can talk more about your service. Nobody's going to be really interested in you if you're just going to talk about your service from day one. Keep in mind that it's about your client, so don't be selfish. You got to give them attention. You don't just want to talk about yourself. This is about your client at the end of the day. I know some people are going to comment that they don't have results. If this is your case, just work with other people's money. What you want to do is you want to work for free for a business. Let's say they have $1,000 ad spend. You can go ahead and go to their Facebook ads manager and spend $1,000 on experience. Obviously, you should watch some videos on Facebook ads. You should learn a little bit about it before you actually start. But don't go out there and try to close a client with zero experience. You want to work for free, not really to get a testimonial testimonial, but more so to learn Facebook ads. And then once you work for free for some time, you've been able to spend other people's money to learn Facebook ads instead of spending your own money to learn ads, and that is not unethical. You need to keep in mind that the companies have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of budget for advertising. So if you work with them and you spend $1,000 just to try some stuff out and it didn't really work out that well, it's not really a loss for them. It's totally fair. So my best advice is experiment with companies' money, and they're not really taking a risk because most companies don't know anything about advertising, and just by watching a couple of YouTube videos, you'll probably land them a couple of sales. Advertising on Facebook is really not that hard. The game becomes really easy though once you have results. I will have to say that. So try to get the testimonial for free and then start charging once you have one. I suggest that you handle everything yourself when first starting out, especially when it comes to the advertising. I was handling both outreach and my clients' Facebook ads all the way up to my first $20,000 a month before I realized that I didn't have time to manage more people's ads and that I would eventually start letting my clients down and disappointing them if I were to keep running their ads alone, because I really didn't have the capacity anymore. So on the way to your first $15,000 to $20,000 a month, I suggest you to run their ads yourself. You want to know your own business before you hire someone else to do a part of your business. But once you're making 10 to 20K a month, you could absolutely go ahead and hire someone to run the ads, because you're not going to have time for that. Eventually, at some point, you just want to be there to close deals and do meetings with clients. That is the end goal when running an agency. When it comes to pricing, I suggest you to charge 1.5K for your first client, but after that, just jump straight up to 3 to 45K. I find it to be good to charge 1.5K for your first client just because it's a little bit easier to get. And when you made your first 1.5K on the internet, the whole world opens for you. You're going to see so much opportunity and you're going to know that the business is actually working. So after that, just go out there and charge like 3 to 45K. You need to realize that businesses are looking to spend thousands or tens of thousands of dollars on advertising every single year just off of an agency. And if someone came to me and offered me to run my Facebook ads for me, I will be looking to make a huge return and I will want to make money. So I wouldn't go out there and pay a stranger $1,000 to run my ads. That just doesn't sound professional. I think that if you charge $6,000 a month as an agency, you're making a statement. You're obviously way more serious than someone that's charging $1,000, and all companies can afford this as long as they see the value in it. So charging more just means that you're more serious and more professional. So I would just go ahead and charge $3,000 to $45,000 because it's not going to make any difference in the closing rate really. Businesses are going to spend what it's actually worth, and they have no problem spending $5K if you seem like the right person. So just try to be the right fit. I'm going to make a ton of videos on SMMA every single week, but as for now, I'm not really going to complicate it for you. Just rinse and repeat this process over and over again every single day, and you will land a ton of clients. There's a couple of more things to it, but I don't want this to be confusing. So as long as you just follow these steps that I just taught you, you will guarantee to be landing clients. And then just watch my future videos and you will learn way more about managing clients, etc. So that is how you start a $25,000 a month agency in 60 days. I hope you liked the video and that you maybe subscribe to my channel and click the like button. You can follow me on Instagram as well. I often post my agency results there and a bunch of motivation for you. So if you want to see me documenting my agency journey, make sure to head over to my Instagram right here. But that's it for today. Hopefully you click a like and subscribe, and I'll be back on YouTube in just a couple of days.